back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Athena. I am a knitter, and in today's video I am going to be showing some finished objects and also talking about some of my future ideas for items, gift knitting, and just some of my thoughts surrounding knitting recently. So as you can see, what I'm wearing is one of my finished objects, my most recent finished object, which is this gorgeous shawl. This was my first shawl. I used Regia sock yarn for this, and something really cool about this item is that it used exactly 100-gram ball of yarn. I had a tiny amount of yarn left over. It was about 4 grams of yarn left over, and I just found that super cool that a pattern can be so precise that you can knit it up and have such little amount of yarn left. So yeah, I'm super happy with this. It was honestly really quicker than you would think looking at it. It was really quick to work up. I was doing this on a 3.75 millimeter needle. I don't know the US needle sizes, so I use millimeters, but yeah, I'm just super happy with this. And the bobble, or no, sorry, the picot edging was honestly the most time-consuming part. It took forever, but I would say it's worth it. It just adds another really nice detail, and I'm not 100% sure how to style it yet, but I think it is very stylish, and I think that it goes well with a lot of plain basic colors, and I feel like that is really my style, these plain basic items that I can jazz up with something fun and colorful like this. So yeah, this was really fun. As you can probably tell, it started in the middle and then you just slowly increase throughout the whole thing. Obviously this side has way less increases than this side, and it created this super cool swirl, which I just love. And yeah, I just love the details on this. I love the variation of stripes. I was a little nervous that the color variation would take away from the lace, but I really don't think it does. I think it just makes it even more fun. So yeah, that's that. Really happy to have it done for fall. I think it's super cute. So yeah, that's that. I'll have all of the names and everything put down here on the screen, and then I'll also have them in the description box. So I think that's all I have to say about this quick project, free pattern on Ravelry. It was written really clearly, very easy to follow. So I would definitely recommend this pattern. And I think it's perfect if you just have one special skein of something, 100 grams, it would be perfect for it. And I know that the designer also had an option. If you wanted an even bigger shawl, she has a 2 skein option. So if you wanted to use 200 grams, she also had an option for that. So whatever you want, you could really do with this shawl. And yeah. And like I said, this was my first shawl, so I was definitely intimidated. I feel like just looking at pictures of any shawls with a fine gauge and the lace, it just kind of looks like, how could I ever even do that? But honestly, as we know from projects, you do it row by row, like you're doing one row at a time, and the stockinette part was obviously super easy to get the hang of and remember. After a few rows, I wasn't having to look at the pattern. And then for the lace, it honestly went by very quickly. Like, it's maybe, I don't know, 20 rows. I don't know exactly how long the lace is, but again, since it's colored, I can't fully see what it's supposed to be, but it just looks nice. So yeah, this was a really fun one and quicker than I expected. And I think it would be a really nice gift for someone in your life. You pick yarn, that's their favorite color. I think this would just be lovely. So that's that. And my second finished object is in here. This is my hand knit little sock bin. There are only 3 pairs in here. I have knit 5 pairs total, but I have gifted 2 pairs. So these are all the socks that I've knit for myself. kind of random colors. Here I have my first ever pair of socks, which look a little crazy. They look a little wonky. They're definitely comfortable. Like, I don't even know how I made them so oversized, because even compared to this sock, like, the tension is just so different, and the shape, it's so much tighter. But yeah, so the finished object is actually my Petal Drop socks by Florence Miller. I finished these last week and blocked them, and I actually have worn them a few times, and I wish that I showed them before I wore them, because they really do stretch out, and they have been gathering a lot of lint or something on the bottom, which is kind of gross, but you gotta wear these things, you know. It's so tempting when you finish a pair of socks, you just don't want to wear them, but then it's like, why did you make them? Why did you spend the money on the yarn? So I'm really happy with these. I just love the red color. I love a pop of red. I think that, again, it's just great with a simple outfit, with jeans, with a white shirt, and then you have a cute little pop of red. I really like these. I really like the lace. This was another pattern that was really easy to remember. I could definitely put the pattern away and just work on it without having to refer back to it, which I really enjoy. And yeah, these took me a while. I'm not sure. I think that I was working on multiple projects at the time, and these weren't my go-to to work on. I found some of my other projects were more fun to work on. But they're finally finished, and I've got some wear out of them, which is always exciting. And so yeah, this is in the West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply sock yarn, just in the color red. I have a lot left. I have a lot left of this. I have this much left, which I haven't weighed it, but this is a fair amount. I wonder what I could make with this. I do have a lot of scrap sock yarn, which I will be talking about later in the video for future socks. It's kind of nice having a sock yarn collection, especially I've knit socks for guys, for girls, so I do have a good mix of colors. So that's my second finished object. Those are my 2 finished objects for this video. Super happy to have them finished. Little accessories. And I think later in the video I'm going to touch on how I've really been mostly knitting these smaller accessories, just because they only involve, you know, 1 ball of sock yarn, which is way cheaper than buying a sweater's quantity of super nice yarn, which I can't really justify that right now. So yeah, now I will get into my whips. This is honestly my longest ongoing whip. I started this cardigan on June 26th. So I started at the end of June. It's now the middle of September, and I'm still on the first sleeve. So this is the Nature's Cardigan by Ozetta. It's a very boxy, simple construction. I was knitting flat for a long time, and then you knit the right and left front pieces, and then you attach them at the shoulder. I did the neckband, which I'm actually very proud of. I think it looks really nice and clean. Sorry, my needles are going everywhere. I think it looks really nice and clean. I'm very happy with that. I also really like the inside. I think that it looks good. And so yeah, I'm really trying to put some work. This is how much I have on the sleeve. It's not fun. It's really not fun for me anymore. And I'm doing it on magic loop, but the cables aren't really long enough for magic loop, so it's not the most comfortable knitting experience. I have to knit, this is about 7 inches, I have to knit 14 inches. So I have to do another one of these, and then the cuff and some decreasing. For this, I am using Patton's Classic Wool Worsted, which I've used before. It's in this really light brown heather color, which I really do enjoy. I think it's gonna look really good when it's finished, and I think once it really cools down a lot more, then I'll be a lot more motivated to finish this. But yeah, Nature's Cardigan. Very happy with how easy it's been, but again, I'm bored of it. Something has never taken me this long, and it's getting ridiculous, but yeah, that's that. Not much to say about that, except I've had that going for a long time. My next whip is something exciting. It is the Inga hat. Yeah, the Inga hat by Sheila McDonald. Recently I've been really inspired by Norwegian color work. I've been watching Arne and Carlos and following them on Instagram, and just that whole world of color work is just beautiful, and I'm so inspired by it, and it looks so intimidating, but I think I've done enough things to, I mean, it's just stranded color work, so I am able to do it. Here is my progress. You start with a Latvian braid, which again looks complicated, but was very easy and very fun, and only 3 rows, like only 3 rounds to do that. As you can see, the white is my main color and the red is my contrast, and there is a little navy blue strip. It looks black, but it's dark navy. And yeah, it has been fun. I haven't done much I haven't really done any color work projects like this, and I am an English style knitter, but I have been practicing continental when I'm just knitting stockinette because I think that it's valuable to have, and I have been able to, I'm not sure what it's called, but I have been able to, is it called combination knitting? I don't know, but holding my contrast color in my left hand and then my main color in my right. So I'm basically throwing and picking, which I think honestly just does work best for stranded color work and making sure that you're maintaining that color dominance, which is important. But yeah, this is just with some scrap yarn. The red is a wool superwash DK, and the white, I'm not 100% sure. It could be wool, it could be acrylic. I don't really care, but yeah, this has been really fun. Again, it's a free pattern, and if you can't tell, I like free patterns. I definitely, if I'm wanting to make something, I will definitely check the free section before I pay for something, because there's so many amazing free patterns out there. And yeah, so I would say I'm about 1/3 of the way done with the color work. It's stunning. It's really stunning. I've seen on Ravelry a lot of the people say that, you know, doing the whole chart, it ends up being a very tall hat and maybe not the most flattering. I don't know. So a lot of people had said that they had skipped a certain section of the color work. They had skipped a section of the color work, and that had kind of make the hat more fitted, but I started it too late, and honestly, I'm just gonna do all the color work and see what happens, and I think I'm definitely gonna wear it. It's so pretty. It's just amazing. It's amazing color work. I'm so inspired. And of course I've seen all of the like Olympic color work sweaters. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but those are super inspiring. The full color work for the like skiing teams, normally a lot of the countries in the 80s and 90s, and definitely before that, made these stunning all over color work jumpers, and they're super inspiring, and that is definitely in my future. But right now I'm loving doing this smaller hat, and I'm really excited to have this done for the fall. I just think it's so pretty. How gorgeous is that? How pretty is that? I love it. Another whip is a pair of socks. I feel like I finish a pair of socks and I instantly want to cast on another pair because I am just obsessed with socks. This is a gift knit for a man. So that's why I'm doing these colors. I don't think they're necessarily man colors, but you know what I mean. Thick cuff in 2x1 rib in this green color. And then I am basically just going through my sock yarn scraps, and I'm gonna be doing stripes. It's kind of just gonna be a scrappy sock, but it's gonna be comfy, gonna be cute. For, like I said, for the cuff, I did 2x1 ribbing, and then for all of the sock, I'm gonna do 3x1 ribbing. Cause I'm really intrigued by a rib sock, and I just really like the look of it. And so yeah, I have some of this marled yarn left over from a pair of socks I did. I have another blue shade. I have a navy blue, some scraps of sock yarn. Yeah, I definitely have enough to do a set of socks, and I love getting to use up the sock yarn scraps. I actually have them all in this bag right here. So here's the green, which is super soft. A lot of them are more girly colors, so I'm saving those for other things. I have a lot of this left over from the socks that I showed earlier, my first pair of socks. This is like a Christmas, it's glittery, West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. Again, I have the leftover from my pedal drop socks. I'm really interested in making shorties. I feel like that would be really cute. And I feel like that would just take up like no yarn. I also have this jowl lilac, which I think is so pretty. And again, the navy, which I'm gonna use in these socks. And I also have some of this Knitting for Olive merino left over from my twist loop top. And even though this is 100% wool, I think I can use it in the leg of the sock because that doesn't really get as much friction as the foot or the heel. I definitely wouldn't use this on the foot or the heel or the toe because it would get a hole. I have some of this, which doesn't really match the color scheme, but I don't know, we're gonna figure it out. If I have to buy some extra yarn, I really don't mind, but yeah. So that's that. Again, I'm doing this on 2.25 millimeter needles. I love these Chiagu fixed needles. I just think if you're gonna be a sock knitter and you do magic loop, which I prefer, that this is just the best thing to get. Because then you always have your designated sock needles and there's no join that the stitches might get caught on. So I really like that. So that's my first gift knit. These are gonna be for Christmas. I am starting them early, but I know that sometimes socks can take me a while. If I'm not feeling inspired by them, they can take me a while. So that's why I'm starting them in September. My second gift idea, I want to do some fingerless gloves in this Drops baby merino. I think this color is super pretty. It's honestly very similar to my cardigan, but it's a bit more purple, I think. I have not used this. I did buy a big quantity of this a few months ago because I wanted to make the Maggie cardigan by Petite Knit, but I did a gauge swatch and I realized that it was not going to work for that project, and so I returned all of them, but I had already used this for the gauge swatch, so I thought I'll definitely find something to do with this yarn. I think I love the penny gloves by Petite Knit. Just a really simple fingerless glove, but I don't want to pay the $7 for the pattern. And I found a free YouTube video. A girl had made a tutorial about a pair of fingerless mitts. It's free, and they look very similar to Petite Knits because obviously the tube part is really simple. Like, no one really needs a pattern for that, but I think it's the thumb increases and the thumb hole that I would need some instruction on. So I'm definitely gonna follow that video. I will leave that linked in the description. But yeah, so this is definitely like a fingering weight, and I want to make it even more luxurious, I want to get a ball of mohair or like a silk or an alpaca, like a fluffy lace weight yarn. and hold them together for the gloves, because I just think that would be so luxurious. And since I already had this, I would basically only be spending like $15 on the mohair. So I'm really excited about that. So those are all my whips and finished objects that I have going at the moment. Now I'm going to talk about a few projects that are inspiring me right now. Yeah, I would say I'm trying to finish the cardigan. The hat, I'm not really stressed about. I know that if I keep working on it in the next few weeks, I'm definitely going to finish that. That's more just enjoyable. Another gift that I want to make, but I haven't bought yarn for, is the Musselburgh hat, which I bet everyone has seen by now. It has almost 39,000 projects on Ravelry, and it just looks like an amazing pattern. I love the idea of, you know, doing some increases at the bottom, and then just working this massive tube, and then doing those decreases at the top, and then you kind of fold it inside itself, and it just makes this lovely 2-layer hat. I'm definitely gonna do that. I don't have yarn for it yet, but I think I would want to use, I'm interested in using like a sock yarn or a DK weight yarn. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm definitely gonna have to go to the yarn store soon to get that, because I always like having a simple stockinette pattern on the go. So I'm definitely gonna do that. And I think once I have the pattern, I'll just be able to make lots of versions. I think it's a really good pattern to have. And I also know that in the pattern, the designer has made it available for like all gauges. So basically, as you're starting the hat, there's like stockinette portions around the brim, and you just measure your gauge in that. I think that you literally just need to measure how many stitches are in 1 inch, and then you can do some math, and then you figure out which gauge you'll be doing. And then there's a certain part of the pattern that you follow for your gauge. So I love that, because you can use whatever weight yarn you want. I think it literally goes from like fingering to worsted weight, which is just amazing, because then you're not limited by the weight of yarn that you need to buy. So that's another gift. I want to make someone a beanie, so I'm gonna do that, but again, I don't have the yarn for that. And there are a few sweaters that are inspiring me right now. Of course, I feel like everyone is talking about the Olga sweater by Petite Knit. I think it is just such a simple silhouette and fit, but being able to pick the colors, I love stripes. I just think it's just so fun and personal, and you know, Petite Knit really nails it with the simple designs. You know, they're so simple, but just those small little details really make the sweaters so special. And so I'm definitely thinking about that. I don't have any yarn for these sweaters. My thing, as you can probably tell, is making smaller accessories, because, you know, as you get into yarn stores and you find all the nice brands of yarn, you really just realize how expensive it is. And right now, I just cannot justify spending over $100 on yarn for a nice sweater, even though I obviously want to. But that's why I really enjoy socks, shawls, little hats, beanies, because they just take up so much less yarn. I can use scrap yarn that I already have at home. So yeah, I think that honestly right now what I'm just working on is smaller projects, and I think that that's how it's going to be for the next little while. There are definitely things that I can, you know, budget and justify, and I think that websites like KnitPicks or Hobby have really good affordable yarn options, which I know that people buy from a lot. I've actually never ordered yarn online. I don't know, I really need to think about that. I think for the Musselburgh hat, and then possibly a sweater for my sister, I would order some yarn from KnitPicks, because I think they have a great selection, all different weights, super good prices, and yeah. And then Hobby has their cotton yarn, which I've seen a lot of people use for the Olga sweater. I think that would definitely be the route I would take, even though I would love to use, you know, knitting for olive merino and stuff like that. For a full sweater, it's just too expensive. Another sweater I really like is the Thin sweater by Wool and Beyond. And I think I was also really enticed by this because, like in the name, it's a very thin sweater. It's almost like a long sleeve, but she makes it in the Knitting for Olive Merino held single, which for my size, I would only need 5 balls of that, which on the Knitting for Olive website, the balls are about $10.50 Canadian. And so it would be like $50 plus tax and shipping for that, which I would pay, because I really do think that having such a thin layer, but it being wool, is just very, very worth it. And I think that I don't know actually if it would be enjoyable, because it is on 3mm needles. And that's why I haven't bit the bullet and bought the yarn yet, because if I commit to that, it's gonna be a journey. It's definitely gonna be a journey. It's a tiny gauge. I mean, this is the Knitting for Olive Merino. Like, this is from my twist loop top. It is so fine. And just knitting a whole long sleeve, it would take a while, but I just really want it. I love the little X detail here on the neck. I love the little rolled hem. And honestly, all of Wool and Beyond's patterns are so cute. I love them. So that's another project I've been thinking of. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Just honing in my skills on socks, trying to get better at lace, color work. I've done a few cable projects. I still have to do a video showing all the projects I've made, which it's not a lot, but it's definitely getting to a substantial number, I would think. Yeah, right now just working on smaller projects and finding ways to still get quality wool from, like, this yarn is from Michaels, because this is the Patons, and it's scratchy, but it's wool and it is warm, and I would be wearing a long sleeve under this anyway. So yeah, I'm definitely finding my way around paying lots of money for stuff. And again, the free patterns, I really like free patterns. So yeah, that's just how I'm doing with my knitting. And I don't know if you can see, but I have a little crochet pumpkin. I made a whole set of these. I made 3 of these a couple years ago in all different sizes. It must have been a YouTube tutorial, like a free YouTube tutorial, but how cute is that for the fall season? So yeah, I think that's everything I have to talk about today. Thank you so much for watching my second video. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.